The voice of Magick has been easy to install into the mind for some time already throughout the dozens, if not thousands, of generations since we have been able to appear for it in ourselves. The way we dictate this is that the audio quality of Magick is the magic itself during the voice of the spelling of the spell itself. It requires laws determined by letters of the language and the dialect associated with it, directly associated enough anyway. However, in this video, we are talking about Magick, the ratio. The ratio I speak of may remind you of the golden ratio, to do unto others as you would have others do unto yourself. And this has an element of truth about it, but Magick, the ratio, involves a satisfying ratio which is never satisfying in the satisfied efforts it defines itself within. So the continuous satisfaction of oneself in the efforts to require the recording of the ratio for themselves is the indefinite means of ending the appropriate amounts of the magic itself. And so to annihilate the symptom of Magick, the ratio itself, we must first dictate the problem correctly. In order to do so, we need to analyze the problem directly enough for quickly enough to realize the problem itself is unending in the ratio itself. But the problem in the ratio itself is not unending. The problem is the unending satisfaction, and that when it is ended, you walk away not satisfied whatsoever. So the idea here is the element of timing between the Magick presumption and the ratio itself is called the ended quality for itself already. If you look into this deeply enough, there is an element of sacrificial type of being to itself there already. And for oneself to do so correctly is the idea of the light magic concept, especially where one needs to put a required amount of sacrifice into the magic itself to essentially pay forward the redeemed event out of it, therefore. Or otherwise, it would be to do so otherwise and cause a sacrificial element out of itself. The placement of itself directly there for otherwise to occur. So when you take this element into practice, it becomes practice of the elements themselves. So there you have earth, wind, fire, water, and typically associated with the elements themselves as well is sort of the etheric surrounding, the Akash, as some call it. And this is essentially just an aimless element of the nature itself, for which to take place the occurrence of the nature itself, being the nature defined as itself is, but nature not so much to the way we describe it, in the way it goes forth with itself directly enough anyway. So to purpose the problem directly into the effort for the solution, what do we do here? The idea is that we need to simply look at it straight and determine for ourselves the beginning of the situation that was caused for this conversation to start in the first place, the lettering. If you observe the English language, it's a very straightforward concept. You can look at A as an open mouth with the tongue in the center going ah. You can look at B with pursed lips going B, or about to at least. C, same concept. And, this will arrange itself into different physical motions altogether, where it turns even into the advancement of chemistry and other such things, which lead to the spiritual transformation of alchemy down the road as well. Now, to take this unending sort of satisfaction to the ratio itself required to do so, without the ended element of the satisfied part of it depleting quickly anyway, what do? This is where we need to appropriate the place for thankfulness within ourselves, to appropriate the ending to be completed correctly. It is the same as in past traditions, where they would be hunting and they would apologize to the animal before sacrificially taking its life, for providing the nourishment for the family or the tribe. On the same note, this is what we were doing when we were performing the ratio of magic to itself properly. When we perform magic, the ratio itself is called the unended quality of itself, for the purposes of the guidance considered to be the element of thankfulness for itself anyway. So in order to end it properly with the thankfulness, we must first thank it first before we receive it. Thank you very much for listening. If you have further details required to be considered, please feel free to ask in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button for further details on other things if required, and please feel free to share the video. Until then, thanks.